All right, we're going to talk about code snippets in Sublime Text today. If you're not familiar with Sublime Text, it's a super nice text editor, and it's in the same kind of family as TextMate, but it's kind of newer and better. It's got a lot of really great features, and I highly recommend it. So one of the things that Sublime Text, one of the tools it has for developer productivity is something called code snippets. You may be familiar with them. They've been often referred to as code templates, snippets, things like that. But basically, they're just reusable blocks of code that you can insert ad hoc, and they just keep you from typing repetitively the same things over and over again. For example, JavaScript for loop. Use it all the time, right? Why would I want to keep typing for, var I equals for, whatever? It's kind of boring, and I really don't need to be typing that over and over again. So I would just use my for loop snippet in JavaScript by typing for and then hitting tab. Oops, for, and then there we go, and there we go. And I could just, hammer away on that. Really basic. So how do you create these? Well, they're really easy to create. You just go to the Tools menu, select New Snippet. It gives you a default snippet, right? So kind of break down the anatomy of this here. You've got your content, which is basically your snippet text. You can have tokens, which represent different components of your snippet. So this is token 1. The default value is this. This is token 2. The default value is snippet. You have some optional attributes, the tab trigger, which I highly recommend. That's the text that you type to actually get it to trigger. You've got the scope, so if you want to narrow your snippet scope to just JavaScript or just less or whatever, just Ruby, there's all kinds of different scopes. Which scopes are really outside the scope, no pun intended, of this screencast, but there's different ways you can figure out the scope of whatever technology you're working with. So we're going to use that, and then there's also, which is not here in the default snippet text, there's also a description. So for the sake of time, I've already got a snippet in my clipboard. I'm going to paste that here. So this is a snippet to create a media query breakpoint in a less file. So I work with Less a lot. I create a lot of media queries, especially when working with responsively designed sites. And I've kind of, my first step in kind of mitigating the redundancy of media queries was to create less variables to represent the different breakpoints for tablet, portrait, tablet landscape, phones, mobile, things like that. And then but I found that even though I had removed the need to constantly be typing my breakpoints, I was still typing media queries over and over and over again. So the next step was to just create a snippet that represented the particular breakpoint I wanted, and that way I could just insert the breakpoint, type my CSS, and be on my merry way. Really, really helpful. Big, huge time saver. So here I've got one here that inserts a media query for tablet portrait. It puts in 2 tokens, one for attribute, one for value. You notice I've numbered mine 1 and 0. I did that for a reason. In a snippet inside Sublime Text, 0 is always the very last token. So even if you put 1230 or 1023, 0 is always going to be the last token in the tab order. So very important little thing to understand if you get into creating more complex snippets. So my tab trigger is going to be MTP. My source is going to be, my scope is going to be limited to source.css.less. I already know that that's the scope that's been assigned to the less package. Another, like a scope for JavaScript would be source.js. Scopes are really, we don't want to talk about those right now. And then description, just a basic description. So super simple. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this in, I'm on a Mac here, so it goes to my home directory into under library, application support, Sublime Text 2, packages. I'm going to put these in my user package. That way they follow me around. And I'm going to save this as, I keep my name simple. So I'm just going to call this MTP. Okay, and then you got Sublime-snippet. All right, very important. All right, there we go, done. So I can close that. Now I'm in my less file, and I want to insert my breakpoint, right? So I'm just going to type MTP. There we go. There's my snippet already, ready to go. Just hit enter, and I'm going to, there we go. Simple as that. And you can do that any number of times for any amount of code you want, and it works really, really well. So go forth and create snippets.